Welcome, everybody, to Talking Hypnosis, brought to you by Hypnothoughts Live. I'm your host, Didi Vergados, and today it is my very special privilege to be speaking with Juan Accosta. Welcome, Juan, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Didi.
Let me tell you a little bit about Juan. Since 2006, Juan has been honing his skills in NLP and conversational hypnosis for his benefit and that of his wide spectrum of clients, where he coaches high performers in multiple areas of life, from competitive sports to business and relationships. One of Juan's specialty also includes working as a hypnodontist in dentistry, where he trains dentists in hypnosis and also how to run a successful practice. Juan also wrote the book Hypnodontics, which quickly became a bestseller. So Hypnodontics is about ethical influence and language for dental professionals. But today we'll be speaking to Juan about abstraction and the power to be anything that you want to be. So, Juan, why don't you tell us, what is abstraction?
Sure. Abstraction is something that I've been honing for the last several years as I've coached a bunch of different performers in different areas. Abstraction means taking the key elements out of a skill that you have or something that you already know how to do and put them into something new, so that when you start that new thing, you're essentially already not that much of a beginner, because you already have a basic understanding of some key elements.
Okay.
So through hypnosis, I've been able to use it more as a delivery method. You know, people talk about hypnosis being a state of the mind and things like that. And I think hypnosis is really just a communication style. And that's what abstraction is about.
Okay, so how do you take someone, because there's so many of us in life that have these dreams and these goals, and you know, people come to us for hypnosis because they're blocked or they're limited in some way. So how do you take someone from the actual thought to manifesting their goal?
I like to start with the model of the mind of T-FAR, where thoughts lead to feelings and feelings lead to action, action leads to a result.
Right.
So if the person has the result that they want, I help them reverse engineer that process and figure out what thoughts are keeping them from getting that result, and which thought patterns we can replace so they can actually get it. So essentially, people have negative thoughts all the time, like, oh man, I'm so stupid, I'm just not good enough at X or Y or Z or whatever. And those negative thoughts keep people sitting back on the couch, you know, eating ice cream or whatever, not rather than out doing things and learning and becoming more and being more proficient at the things that they would enjoy and they would like. So it's just about changing the thought patterns. You know, what if I could do this? You know, it would be great to do that. And just having that little change in the initial thought can begin to change the feeling inside, right? And once you start feeling, well, yeah, what if I could do that? Then that becomes a possibility that creates action and makes you actually get off the couch and go skiing, for example. You know, like most of my clients through the winter season, they're skiers and snowboarders. As you can tell, my Google tan here. They're mostly skiers and snowboarders, and you know, they start sometimes from zero because, oh, I'm so afraid, I can't do it. Right. And it's all about replacing those thoughts as they build also the physical skill.
Okay, so in your hypnosis practice, there's probably one thing that's stopping people the majority of the time. So what is that thought that you find most common that really is the one you have to work with the first most?
It seems to be a positive thought for most people. I think the thought is, oh, I wish I could do X.
Really? You
know, people say, for example, they tell me all the time, oh, I wish I could do a handstand like you. And I'm like, well, why don't you? You know, I'm just a normal dude that just a couple of years ago decided I should have a handstand. And I started practicing handstands, and now I have a handstand. You know, so it's just a matter of building incremental progress. But that thought of, I wish I had something, and that something seems so far that it seems unattainable. So I help my clients, as I've helped myself, to break that overwhelming nature of things into simple things that are like, oh, I can totally do that. Yeah, if I want to have a handstand in 2 years, all I have to do is do these little exercises today and then these other exercises tomorrow, and so on. Yes, exactly. So when you break it down like that, clients that are scared, for example, they understand that running down a black ski run, one of the most difficult ones, is not about just running it straight down, because of course that looks really scary. But if they break it down, they go, well, let's take 2 turns. If we go that way and we go back this way, it's not as steep. Then you're breaking it down into something that's manageable for them.
Okay, wonderful. So let's talk about dentistry for a second, because there is a huge area in hypnosis available for dentists. I can share with you a quick experience that happened to me where I was like, wow. He was such a sweetheart. You know when you can tell a dentist is so kind and caring, you can feel it coming from their heart. But I was getting a root canal, and at one time there wasn't enough freezing, and he hit the nerve like 3 or 4 times. And I mean, I'm a hypnotist, so I was like watching my body's response, going, whoa, I think I yelled, I can't remember, but I didn't want to yell because I didn't want to freak everybody out in the waiting room. And then I could feel my heart racing. Sweat was pouring off of me, literally, from this pain, because it was unexpected, right? And he was such a sweet man, but he tried to deal with it with rationale. He's like, oh, we've just hit a hot spot. And he was trying to whereas if he would have used some hypnotic languages, just maybe touched me on the arm and said, okay, the worst is over. And then he tried to make me feel better by saying, okay, by the way, I have another patient in the other room going through the same thing, and I'll just leave you for a moment while the freezing takes hold, and I'll go there and take care of that. So basically, I'm like in this pain, and he just walks out of the office, and I thought, oh my God, thank God I'm a hypnotist, thank God I can get myself out of this. But I was thinking, what if he did that to the average person? The average person would develop a complete dental phobia. So,
and they can be so caring and so great, and they just don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
They don't understand how the little things that they say or don't say make a big difference in,
and that's what I felt with him.
Around that,
I completely felt if he would have just maybe touched me and said, take a deep breath, the worst is over, just breathe through it. It's just something. And he meant well, he just didn't know. He's a very good, sweet man trying his best, but he just didn't know. So how do you help dentists?
So he handled it like a dentist.
Exactly.
But he didn't handle it like a hypnotist, and that's the thing. They don't know hypnosis, and they don't need to know hypnosis. And I tell them specifically when I speak at dental conferences, I tell them I'm not teaching you to be hypnotists. Okay. You already have a career. I'm teaching you a few simple hypnotic skills that can help you communicate better with your patients so that they will be more comfortable. Because a patient that's more comfortable is a patient that's going to be a better patient in all regards, right? It's a patient that's going to be easier to deal with in the chair when they're getting treatment,
right?
Any procedures done. And they're a patient that is going to be coming back to the practice because, they treat me so well, they relax me, they are really great at the way that they communicate with me, and they handle our interactions. So that makes a big difference, and that's what I teach dentists. I teach them simple language patterns and language skills that revolve around dentistry based on the work that I've done inside dental practices. Because I found that I was going into dental practices like 99% of the hypnotists do, asking them for referrals and saying, hey, I can help your patients relax, I can help your patients stop grinding their teeth, I can help them blah, 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 without realizing that maybe that wasn't something that the dental practice really needs or wants. So I have the best interest at heart of the patients, but I don't understand, because I haven't worked inside the dental practice yet, that based on just that, I don't really have the dental practice best interest at heart, or at least it doesn't seem that way. Because to the dental practice, if I help a patient that stops grinding their teeth, I'm doing 2 things. I am helping them because obviously that's their goal, but I'm also taking some money out of their pocket because they sell them bite guards.
Right.
They do treatments for grinding, right? So in the dentist's mind, I'm saying, here, take my product or your product and let me make the money. right? So after working with dental practices, I realized that there was a different way of approaching dental practices that was more helpful for them, and the patient still gets the same benefit, right? Because now I teach dental practices to do things that help them grow, but I do that through the lenses of customer service. So if I teach a dental practice how to get a testimonial on their Facebook so that their patients can see, which is something that I do for dental practices, it seems like it's a marketing technique for the dental practice, but I do that by helping the patient through the process. A patient that was freaked out at the beginning, for example, and now at the end of the appointment, it's so happy that it's leaving you a video testimonial. What patient does that? A happy patient.
Exactly.
So I still help the patient in the same way. I help them stop grinding. I help them relax. And, I help them buy the treatment that they need, that they require, in a way that is natural, doesn't seem shocking. But I do that by helping the dental practice at the same time. So it's just a different approach.
It's a good plan. It's a good plan. So, what have you seen that's been really astounding in your career in terms of successes with people? Because as hypnotists, we all have those kind of miracle stories that are just, whether it's sometimes the subject is just so profound, they can shift immediately, or with some people it takes a little bit more work. But what is the one story that you're so very proud of accomplishing in your career? I know there's tons of them. Just choose one that you just think has really even amazed you.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna share with you a process that happens to so many of my clients, because for the last 4 years, I guess, I've been coaching skiers all through winter, and so many of them are now to the level where they started 3 or 4 years ago. They had never ever been on a pair of skis, or skates or anything, and now they're doing things that are high level athlete things, like spins and turns and grinds on the terrain parks. So I like to, I guess, share with you two things. One of them is a story of incremental progress, where I see clients. Most hypnotists don't see their clients on a long-term basis, and I don't either if they're coming to me to help them stop smoking, right? But if they're coming to me for something that requires incremental progress, like skiing, like snowboarding, then they are definitely going to see me for a longer period of time, and I see them, so sparingly, as twice or three times a season. So it's really neat for me to see, for example, other people that are ski instructors, who a lot of my friends are, and they deliver the same information, but it doesn't seem to arrive at the same place or at the same speed.
Right.
Yeah. For some reason, it seems that my clients enjoy a really natural and really well put together learning curve for them. Because I'm constantly in tune with what they are receiving and not receiving from me, and what they need, which I don't think is the norm for most teachers. So that's why I like to, going back to abstraction, since we're, for Hypnothoughts Live, that's exactly what I like to talk about. Is the ability that I've honed to pull out those key elements from things, and being able to use hypnosis just as a communication style. Because we talked about hypnodontics, but after hypnodontics, I have 3 other books that have come out. The last one is about abstraction specifically, which is how to learn anything or any sport fast.
Right.
And it's all about, taking out the key elements from, I used to be a whitewater kayaker. I know these certain laws of the sport. I can now transfer them to something else. Yeah. So, not a real story of success, but just bringing it back to abstraction. Is what I deliver to my clients, and I don't have one specific example. Mostly because I'm pretty absent-minded. I live very in the moment.
In the moment, I was gonna say, in the moment.
But at the same time, I do have stories of, like, the client that came back to my office 3 weeks later for her second appointment, and she even forgot what her first appointment was like because she had stopped eating, chewing her thumb, and she didn't have that thing anymore. And when she came back, I'm like, so what are we doing today? And she's like, I don't know. Well, what's up? How's your thumb? She's like, what? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a good one. That's great.
Yeah. So, stuff like that. I mean, but it happens fairly regularly. When I talk to people, my clients always say, well, you tell me stuff and I keep unpacking things for a couple of weeks. Like things just like, oh, something just clicked, and it must have been what we talked about. And it is like that, because that's what we do as hypnotists, right? Is we deliver information in a way that is softly and naturally absorbed for the person to just flourish with it.
Yeah, and quite often we don't do ourselves justice, because like you said, to you it's completely normal to eliminate a nail biting or thumb chewing habit in one session, whereas what we don't realize is this person had this as a lifelong habit, and they've tried everything, and their parents tried everything, and everybody's frustrated, and you just did it in one session. It seems completely normal to us.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it either. I thought it's a habit. It will take, just like it took a moment to build,
right.
It might take a moment to take away.
Right.
And, it was, that one particularly was quicker than that. They're not all like that, but that's one that kind of jumps to mind, where you talk about a success story where the client didn't even remember what was the issue. So, so what do we do next? One of those fun sessions. Well, where do you want to go today? And just give them a new experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for being our guest today. And for those of you who want to see Juan at Hypnothoughts Alive, you're doing how many hour workshop is Abstraction?
Hypnothoughts Alive. No, I'm just doing a single hour talk on abstraction of basically what we talked about today, except I want to go into more detail about those key elements of life, everything. And it's a 1 hour on Sunday afternoon. So I look forward to seeing you, a bunch of you there.
Yeah, wonderful. You too. For those of you who want to see Juan, he's doing a 1 hour, and you can be seen at htplive.net. Thanks, Juan. Have a great day, and we'll see you at Hypnothoughts. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.